Do you know the 3 key things that people get wrong about emotional intelligence? 25 years ago, when 6 Seconds started as the first organization dedicated to growing emotional intelligence, we identified 3 myths that were in the way. What's concerning to me is that 25 years later, people still get these things wrong about emotional intelligence, and it's in the way of really getting the value of this idea. The first thing people get wrong about emotional intelligence is they think it's being nice. Now, emotional intelligence might help you be nice, but a lot of times emotional intelligence helps you be more clear and more strong and maybe more direct. And sometimes people use the term soft skills for things like emotional intelligence, and there's really nothing soft about having a truly honest conversation. And to have these hard conversations requires a lot of skills with emotion. But the goal isn't for people to say, oh, he's nice, she's nice. The goal isn't to make it easy. The goal isn't to soften. The goal is to achieve results, to use emotions effectively. And sometimes to be effective, we need to be softer. And sometimes to be effective, sometimes we need to be more direct. What you need to do is look at the feedback that you're getting, the reaction you're getting from people in the way you communicate. And if they're flinching away from talking with you and they're closing down, then probably you're communicating in a way that's too direct, that's too blunt, that's too hard. But most people have the opposite problem. Most people over-soften their communication, and they're trying to be nice because if you're conflict avoidant, like me, then you might try to be nice and end up being dishonest with yourself and with others. And that is not emotionally intelligent. If you want to use emotional intelligence, stop thinking about it as nice or social skills or politeness. Think about it as using data to help you achieve goals in an effective way. The second thing people get wrong about emotional intelligence is they think about it as the opposite of IQ. And it makes a nice play. EQ on this side, IQ on that side. IQ is fixed, EQ is learnable. It's not true. In fact, what we know is that emotional intelligence and conventional intelligence are correlated. And just think about something like emotional literacy, one of the foundations of emotional intelligence. Emotional literacy is about naming and understanding emotions. That's deeply connected to one of the basic cognitive skills measured by IQ. And by the way, the whole idea that IQ is fixed and doesn't change is actually a myth. So in this whole cluster of myths, when we start saying IQ is this and EQ is this, we're really playing into something that's cute, but not true. This doesn't mean that people with high IQ have high EQ. It means we need them to work together. There are tons of people who overly rely on their IQ, and they're painfully smart, but they're terrible with people and they're disconnected with themselves. It doesn't mean they're opposites, though. It means that in this person, those two things are out of balance, and what we need to do is to get both of them balanced and working together. If we want to really use our emotional intelligence, we need an intersection. We need head and heart working together. We need our emotions and cognitions to be smoothly integrated in order to understand the situation and solve problems. The third thing that people get wrong about emotional intelligence is they think it's part of personality. And they say things like, well, extroverts who like to engage with people must have higher emotional intelligence. And that's not true. Personality, by definition, is a set of fixed traits. And in classical definitions of personality, there are 5. One of them is introversion and extroversion. And as Daniel Goleman discussed way back in his 1995 book, where he talked about 6 Seconds methods as a model of how you teach emotional intelligence, even back then he said you take something like introversion. You're probably going to be introverted your whole life, but you can learn emotional intelligence skills to help you engage anyway. So your personality is not destiny, but personality is not the same as EQ. Somebody who's more extroverted is not automatically better at EQ just because they like to engage with people more. And I know tons of people who are more extroverted, but really clueless about understanding the people they're engaging with. And people who are introverted and holding back, who have deep insight into what's going on emotionally, but might have trouble with other aspects of EQ. So remember, EQ is not monolithic. There are a lot of different dimensions, just like with IQ. You think with IQ we have numbers and pictures and shapes and words. With EQ we have reading emotions and connecting and understanding and integrating and engaging. There are all these different sub-skills we combine into this concept of emotional intelligence. But you can think about it as personality as this baseline layer of how we're wired, and on top of that, we learn skills. So to recap, the 3 things people get wrong about emotional intelligence. It's not about being nice. It's not the opposite of IQ, and it's not the same as personality. If you fix this misunderstanding, you'll be able to access emotional intelligence in a more powerful way so that you can actually use it to get better results today. Now it's your turn. What myth of emotional intelligence are you going to overcome?